Let's get right into it.
Number 7. The sound of crunching leaves. You're walking alone. The wind is whispering. The trees are swaying. Then suddenly, crack! A single leaf crunches behind you, and your soul leaves your body. Why? Because your brain has decided that crunching leaves equals death. Back in the prehistoric days, rustling meant movement, and movement meant something was probably stalking you, which meant your next meal might be you. So the human brain evolved to treat sudden sharp sounds, like leaf crunches or snapping twigs, as blaring sirens of doom. This instinct is so deeply hardwired that even now, in a world where our biggest predator is a malfunctioning microwave, your nervous system still treats forest sounds like horror movie trailers. Even cooler/creepier, your brain is ridiculously good at locating where a crunch came from, within milliseconds. It's called sound localization, and it's why you can instantly tell if that mystery noise was behind you or to your left, and whether it's time to fight, run, or nervously shuffle like a confused penguin. Of course, 99.9% of the time, it's just a squirrel, or your own shoelace. But your brain doesn't care. It's going full DEFCON 1, because 50,000 years ago, ignoring that sound meant being dinner. So yeah, that irrational panic you feel in the woods, totally rational, if you're a caveman. Number 6. Sleeping lightly, like a paranoid possum. You're asleep, or you think you're asleep, but suddenly, the faintest noise, a floorboard creak, a dog bark, your fridge sighing like it's had a hard day, and boom, you're awake. Eyes wide, heart racing, ready to karate a ghost. Congrats! You're experiencing first watch brain, a lovely feature from your cave-dwelling ancestors who slept like nervous meerkats. See, back when your bedroom was the forest floor and your bedmates were mosquitoes and existential dread, sleep was a dangerous gamble. So early humans evolved to sleep in shifts, literally. Even when you're unconscious, your brain stays slightly alert, ready to yank you out of dreamland the moment a twig snaps or someone breathes wrong. Modern humans still carry this. Scientists even found that the first night you sleep in a new place, half your brain stays more alert than usual, like a loyal guard dog that doesn't trust hotel carpets. This is called the first night effect, and it's basically your brain going, "We don't know this cave, let's not die in it." That's why some people sleep horribly in new places or wake up because the heater coughed too loud. Your brain is constantly doing background surveillance like an overprotective parent who thinks every sound is a bear or a tax audit. So, the next time you wake up 4 times because your curtain moved half an inch, remember, you're not sensitive. You're evolutionarily gifted with anxiety. Number 5. Your brain hates stillness. You ever try to sit still and do absolutely nothing? Not scroll, not doodle, not even blink aggressively. Just sit. Yeah, within 5 seconds, your brain's like, you know what would make this better? Imaginary threats, and maybe a phantom itch. This restlessness comes from an ancient survival instinct where being still too long meant you were either prey or already dead. Cavemen couldn't afford to chill. If you weren't foraging, hunting, or fleeing something toothy, you were probably being watched by something toothy. So your brain developed a deep, irrational hatred for stillness, because motion equals alive, stillness equals suspiciously edible. Fast forward to today, and your modern life, full of sitting, waiting, and pretending you're not Googling weird symptoms, triggers that ancient wiring. That's why we fidget. That's why we bounce our legs like caffeinated squirrels. That's why you suddenly need to check the fridge again, even though you know exactly what's in it. Disappointment and baking soda. Psychologists call this the action bias. Your brain would rather do something pointless than sit around and stew in helplessness, even if that something is rearranging your apps or rechecking the oven 5 times in 1 hour. It's not your fault. You're just evolution's energetic disaster. Number 4. The fear of the dark. You're in bed. Everything's quiet. Lights are off. You blink into the black void and think, did I always have that coat rack? Or is that a demon waiting to eat my knees? Congratulations. You've unlocked a primal survival feature. Nyctophobia. A fancy term for the dark is creepy and I don't like it. See, for most of human history, darkness was when things with claws and questionable dinner ethics came out to play. Humans don't have night vision, or claws, or fur. We're basically walking glow sticks with anxiety. So when the sun went down, our best move was to huddle together and hope the lions were on a diet. Your ancestors didn't have Netflix. They had nighttime silence and the occasional twig snap, which probably caused spontaneous heart attacks. So, over thousands of years, humans developed a heightened sensitivity to sounds, shadows, and movement in the dark. Even now, your brain ramps up its alert system in low light, cranking up the volume on every creak, cough, and ghostly air conditioner noise. You know, just in case there's a panther in your laundry room. The dark is scary not because it's dark, but because your brain fills in the blanks with everything that could go wrong. And it's not great at reasonable suggestions. Instead of, oh, that's the cat, it goes, probably a murderer. Or worse, an unpaid bill. So yeah, the next time you're paralyzed under your blanket because you saw your own jacket move slightly, thank your caveman ancestors. They survived long enough to pass down this nightmare-inducing feature just for you. You're welcome. Number 3. Overthinking every social interaction ever. You ever lie awake at night, haunted by something you said in 2009? Or spiral into emotional chaos because someone replied, lol, instead of haha? Yeah, welcome to the social survival reflex, also known as the reason you overanalyze every single conversation like it's being submitted for a grade. Back in the prehistoric group chat that was tribal life, being liked wasn't a bonus. It was a matter of life and death. If the group didn't vibe with you, they could literally kick you out. And being alone meant your survival rating dropped to snack for wolves. So our brains evolved to be hypersensitive to social cues, rejection, and approval. Today, this ancient survival system is the reason you replay every awkward laugh, misread emoji, or slightly weird handshake until it becomes a cinematic tragedy in your head. Neuroscientists have even discovered that social pain activates the same parts of your brain as physical pain. Your brain treats getting ghosted like a stab wound, because to your inner caveman, being left on read is just the modern equivalent of being left behind when the group migrates. That's why minor things like someone not waving back or saying K can feel disproportionately brutal. Your brain is trying to prevent social exile in a tribe that no longer exists. Ironically, we now live in a society of billions where rejection doesn't equal death. But your prehistoric operating system hasn't updated in 40,000 years, so it still runs on what if they hate me energy at all times. So no, you're not crazy. You're just evolution's most socially anxious achievement. Number 2. That gut feeling of doom. You walk into a room and feel it. That weird, indescribable vibe. Nothing's obviously wrong, but your stomach tightens, your skin prickles, and your brain's like, let's leave. Right now. Don't ask questions. This is your threat detection radar, also known as your gut feeling. And it's basically your ancient spidey sense on full alert. Scientists call it neuroception, your body's unconscious ability to detect danger through subtle cues like tone of voice, facial expressions, or posture. It's like your nervous system has its own secret detective agency, constantly scanning the environment for even the faintest whiff of danger. You may not see the threat, but your body picks up on microsignals. Maybe someone's smile is too wide. Maybe a noise was just a little too quiet. Maybe your brain detected a combination of smells, shadows, and subtle movement that screams danger, but it can't quite explain why. So instead of logic, you get vibes. And yes, vibes are real. They're just sensory data your conscious brain hasn't finished processing yet. This instinct comes straight from our hunter-gatherer ancestors who had to decide in milliseconds if that rustle in the bushes was wind or a tiger with dinner plans. Even today, many people who survive dangerous situations report, "Something just felt off." That off was their subconscious screaming through a megaphone made of nausea and goosebumps. So next time your gut tells you to run, but you have no idea why, listen. It might just be your caveman whispering, "Trust me, we've seen this movie before." And, spoiler alert, it never ends well for the guy who ignores the creepy vibes. Number 1. The need to belong or die. Picture this. You're doing something you don't enjoy, wearing something you hate, pretending to like someone you don't, and you're smiling through it all. Why? Because you want people to like you. Welcome to the most human instinct of all, the desperate need to belong. Thousands of years ago, the human survival strategy wasn't claws or speed. It was each other. Tribes were the original Wi-Fi. If you lost connection, you were done. So your brain developed a permanent obsession with fitting in, getting approval, and avoiding rejection like it's literal death. And it kind of was. That's why public speaking feels like a threat. Why we crave likes. Why we instinctively scan a room for group reactions before we laugh at a joke. Your brain still thinks you're part of a 40-person hunting squad where everyone's opinion could decide whether you eat tonight. This is also why shame hits so hard. It triggers the same survival circuits as mortal danger. Embarrassment isn't just, "Oops." It's, "Oh no, the tribe saw me mess up. Now they're going to leave me behind with the wolves and a stick." Even babies are wired this way. Studies show infants will cry not just when they're hungry, but when they feel ignored. The human brain, even fresh out of the packaging, is already screaming, "Someone validate me." So if you've ever done something weird just to fit in, worn painful shoes, fake laughed at a joke, or joined a group activity involving glitter, you're not weak. You're just following a survival script older than fire. You don't just want to belong. You're programmed to. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.